Right, we are live. What is up, everybody? JP here of Gerard Pomsel Coaching and Consulting, helping Black millennials and others in our community figure out how to get over all this overwhelm, the stress and struggle of starting their own business, helping them go out, get their first clients, and really showing them how to set up processes and the systems to make their businesses successful. And so tonight, I wanted to talk to you guys about, as you can see in the title, what is your why? And then finding your vision, your mission, and your principles. And I wanted to talk about this. Well, first off, check it out. I have a little new setup here, a little new fancy stuff here. We got a little logo and we got the title here. So this is totally new, something I'm trying out. But let me know what you think about it. What I came here to talk to you guys about is finding your why and how important that is in your business and whatever that you're doing, to let people know who it is that you are and tell them more about your story. And so that is something I've been working hard at doing more in my business, and something that I'm typically not used to doing is telling more about my story, giving people a reason to buy in, not just because I can help them, but telling them more about my journey, telling them more about the things I've been through and what's led me to get to this point in my career and in my business. So just to shine a little bit of light on my background is, I've always been obsessed with technology and really helping people get ahead with technology. But I've always had this hustler spirit. Even in growing up, I was cutting grass, I was fixing electronics, I was doing all types of things for family members, just to make a couple bucks here and there. And as I got older, my hustles got a little bit more advanced. I used to sell music. I used to sell candy in high school, and I paid for different trips that we would have with school. And even when I got to college, I was involved in different businesses and a multi-level marketing company, and learned a lot along the way. And then eventually after college, had a startup, or have a startup, where me and some of my fraternity brothers make mobile apps. And then I graduated to doing coaching and consulting and really helping others out in our community learn more about what it is that they need to be successful. And so something I've really been doing lately is reading more about my why and really understanding how to explain my story so that people can truly understand the benefits that they would have from working with me. And so, guys always know I have books. So one book that I'm reading now is The Power of Story, and this is by Jim Loehr. Picked this up at the bookstore the other day, and I'm actually really excited. I'm only maybe a couple chapters in, but he's really talking about the stories that we tell ourselves, whether they're bad or good, and how we can use those stories to either, motivate us, or how those stories can really be used to kind of take us down the rabbit hole. And one of the things that I have done in my business is I've mapped out, and as you see, it's called vision, mission, and principles. And a lot of times we struggle trying to figure out what is the purpose and the vision of our business outside of just making money. Like, we all want to make money. We want additional streams of income. We want to be comfortable. We want the freedom. But who are we doing this for, and why are we doing it? So another book, and this isn't the book, it's actually called Start With Why. I don't have it. It's by Simon Sinek, but this is the accompanying workbook, and it's called Find Your Why. And this book really helps you go through and figure out, as it says, your why. And so the book that accompanies it is called Start With Why. And he's really telling people to start with what it is that you do, because that's what's going to really bring people to your business. That's what's really going to sell your product, whatever it is that you have to give to the market. So what I wanted to show everybody this evening was I actually took this a step further. And when I started my business, I really thought about the things that were going to make not only me successful, but what were going to actually make my students successful. And what was it that I had to really build into the DNA of the business to help them achieve their goals at the highest level. And so I actually have them printed out, and I have them on my wall here. And I have a better version I'm going to show you guys, but I wanted to show you that I have this printed out. You can see it. Boom. And it talks about the problem I'm solving. It talks about my mission. And then I have a bunch of principles here that I'm actually going to run through. But I have this hanging on my wall. So I look at this every day just to remind myself of why I'm doing this for. Now, luckily, I have another version here, and this new fancy tool is going to let me show it to you. So here's a better version. I'm actually going to disappear for a second. Let's see if I can disappear. All right, there we go. Boom. That's even better. And we're going to get rid of this for a second here so we can see this. And so this is what my coaching business is all about. This is the purpose. This is the vision. This is the principles. This is the why. And the reason I came up or started this business because a lot of people I know, particularly in our community, excuse me, that's dinner. A lot of people in our community would say, JP, I will have all these different ideas, but I just don't know how to get started. I don't know what it is that I need to be successful, and I don't know what it is that what the steps I need to take. So what I wanted to do with my business was really figure out a way to help people not only know the steps, but also to close the wealth gap. We hear a lot about, Black families make X dollars less than white families. Hispanic families make X dollars less than white families. We also hear that the net worth of Black families is damn near zero when for white Americans, it's like 100 grand. So a lot of these different gaps and a lot of these different statistics all have to do with the lack of information. And that's the lack of information we have in our community. So when I came up with the concept of coaching and consulting and helping people really understand a lot of these principles, my goal was to help every Black millennial entrepreneur close the wealth gap by launching their own consulting business. And that's kind of transformed a little bit. It's now more to really helping them launch a business because I've worked with people in accounting. I've worked with people who do taxes, who actually have coaching and consulting businesses, real estate, agile training. So I've worked with a number of different businesses and a lot of the same principles apply. And what I'm finding is that as long as I keep these principles at the forefront, it really helps me to find success with my clients and get success for people so they can go out and get clients and start building their businesses. So just want to run through these for you. And the reason that I'm going to talk a little bit about why I picked each of these. And I think they're really important, particularly for those that are just starting out. And for me to make sure that I continue, that's why I have it on my wall, I continue to serve my students, serve my clients in the best way possible. And I keep this at the forefront of my mind. So number one, I'm student obsessed. If it doesn't lead to the success of Black millennial entrepreneurs, it's not important. So if it's outside of that, if it has anything to do with politics, if it has anything to do with what's going on in the media, it doesn't matter because it doesn't have anything to do with what my students need to be successful. Now, I will tell them to ignore that stuff because there's a lot of noise out there and we have to pay attention to what's important if we want to actually attack this problem and attack or achieve the mission. Results oriented. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. We all know that the numbers tell the story at the end of the day. Whether we lie to ourselves or we lie to others, at the end of the day, we just need to know the numbers. And if the numbers are going up and to the left, that means there's going to be improvement. If they're going down to the left, that means we need to do something different. So we're always looking at the numbers and making sure that the numbers point us in the direction and give us some type of scientific feedback for where we're going. Lean or fast, lean, and agile. So this comes from my background as an engineer. Action over inaction, only what's necessary, and keep that bounce. So when you get stuck, when you're frozen and you don't know what to do, you can either stop and do nothing, or you can take a little bit of action and keep going. And so we always move to the side of taking action, because when we take action, it kind of goes back to number one, we get the data, we get information. Because if you sit still and you're just looking back and you're frozen, you're not really getting any information about what's going on, and it's not really helping your situation. And you only do what's necessary. We want to do all these extraneous things. We want to keep it lean. We want to be agile, and you want to keep that balance. You always want to be on the move, looking out for the next direction you need to turn. And you don't want to get too stagnant, because when you get stagnant, that's when competitors come, and that's when you stop knowing or stop feeling what's going on in the market, because you're just standing into one place. Crazy high personal and professional standards. Great is not good enough. And some people are happy with just being okay or a little bit above average, but I have to make sure that for my students that I am always, striving to be greater than great. I have to always strive to make the best programs, give them the best advice, and give the best coaching that I can. Do one thing really, really well. Less is more. Now, a lot of times we talk about generating multiple streams of income. Well, in reality, outside of your job and your retirement, most people don't have another stream of income. So, a lot of times people want to start a blog, they want to start coaching, they want to do a course, and they all try to do them at one time. When we work with me, or when someone works with me, the one thing I really focus on is, hey, I'm going to teach you principles, and we're going to focus on one thing. But then after that, once you learn the principles and once you have success in one area, then you can branch out. So you really focus on doing one thing well first, then we can branch out. It's all feedback. So it's all feedback. There's no right or wrong, success or failure. It's only feedback. A lot of times we get really hard on ourselves when we go out and we try to tackle something, we tackle a big problem, we tackle a big issue, and we come up short. We don't reach our goal, and we think, oh, I failed. Well, in reality, sure, you may have failed, but guess what? You learned a lot along the way, and you learned a lot about what not to do. I run ads for my business. I do organic outreach, reaching out to people, and I've learned a lot. There are some messages that work for some audiences, and there are other messages that don't. With ads, you actually have to go out and spend money. So you actually may lose money in the beginning because you're trying to figure out what is going to be the right match. But if you keep at it, just with anything, when you first started to learn to walk, you got up and you fell flat on your butt as a kid. But eventually you got back up, you figured out how to balance, and you kept going. Same thing about riding a bike. We've all fell off the bike before, and we had to get back up and try it again. So it's all feedback, and there's really no failure. Keep it 100, give it 100. And with my students and the people I work with, I'm totally upfront. Be upfront and brutally honest with yourself and others, and then push it to the max. Being soft and going light doesn't help anybody. All that is, it does is kind of shelter you to what the real world is. It shelters you from the real facts. It shelters you from the real data. And so with my students, I make sure that I'm always giving them the best I can, and that they have to give it in return. And I'm always going to be honest with them. If they're not up on their game, if they're slacking, I'm going to let them know, because that's what my job is. My job is to let them know that, hey, here are the areas you can improve in so we can actually reach your goals and do the things that you said you came in the program to do. And that's why I'm here to help you. Think big. Small gets small, big gets big. And what this really means is that, you are the sum of your thoughts. So, growing up, we all have had or may have had dreams of what we wanted to be when we grow up. Some people may have wanted to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, or maybe you didn't. You just wanted to be alive in some cases, But the fact of the matter is that whatever that was, that's what you're going to shoot for. So if you think you're only worth, I'm only going to make $20,000, $30,000 a year growing up, well, guess what? You're only going to make that. If you have the mindset of I'm going to be a millionaire, well, it's likely that you're going to get that, as long as you're willing to also put in the work. So, dreaming is free. So we get to choose where we put our bets. So if you bet small, you're gonna win small. But if you bet big, you're gonna win big. Question everything. And this might be one of my favorites on this thing. Just because you were taught or believe something doesn't mean it's true. And so my motto is question everything. If you're familiar with Gretchen Rubin and the 4 tendencies, she talks about questioners. And the questioners, basically anything that you ask me to do, I'm having questions about it. Why do you need that? Who's doing it? Why are they doing it for? What is the purpose of all this? And I was watching something today that talked about that we need to be more skeptical. And the reason people who have a lot of questions see more success is because they're always testing reality. And a lot of times reality has a time, or it has the ability to confuse us, and it has the ability to really give us a false sense of what's really going on. And so just because you were taught something, just because your parents said something, just because your grandparents taught you something, just because you were taught something in school, doesn't necessarily believe it's true. At one point in time, people around the world thought that the earth was flat. People were killed. People were thrown in jail once they put out the proposition or put out the fact that, hey, actually the earth is round. Same thing with the sun. We all thought that not we all, but people back in those times thought that the earth or the sun revolved around the earth, where now we know that the earth actually revolves around the sun. So question everything. Just because someone says it doesn't mean it's true. Let's see if I can move this picture over here. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Can I move that? Nope. All right, we're just gonna read it. So say no to say yes. Say no now so that you can say yes to something else later. And what that really means is a lot of times we tend to commit ourselves to something, we commit ourselves to people, and we may not want to do that commitment. And a lot of times we may say, I'm going to eat this ice cream right now, or I'm going to eat this food that's not good for me right now, because I want it and it tastes good. Of course, we want it right now. But by me saying no to, say, unhealthy food all this week, I can have a cheat day later in the week. And I'm also saying yes to a healthy body, a healthy mind, and a healthy spirit, because I'm not putting all of those sugars or salts into my body. And the same thing comes down into your business. You're putting in a lot of work right now. You may be saying no to going out with your buddies drinking on the weekend. You may be saying no to taking, long extended vacations, because you're going to put in the work now so that when the time comes, you can say yes later when your business is flourishing and you have time to do all those things. But in the moment now, and what I work with my students to know is that, in the moment, we have to say no so that we can get the things that we want to achieve later and really say yes to those things. And then the last one here, make sure I read it correctly: continuous learning and self-improvement. Wake up every day looking to learn and apply it to make the world a better place. And so this is something that I do every morning to make sure that I'm learning. I said right now, one of the books that I'm reading is The Power of Story. I'm actually probably into like 6 books right now. I know it's kind of ridiculous. My wife says, you're not faithful to a book, basically. And I'm like, no, I just kind of like to pick them up at times. And, I get different nuggets from different books, but I think I'm going to finish this one fairly soon. But, continuously learning, continuing to self-improve, and continuing to develop yourself, because that's the only way you're going to get ahead. Education doesn't stop in high school and college. Once you get an advanced degree, it continues throughout your whole life. And so those that are successful, those that continue to have success, know that you have to continue to learn. You have to continue to improve yourself, and you're either continuing to grow or you're stagnating and moving backwards. So I know for sure that I'm going to continue to grow, and I'm going to help my students to continue to grow. So that's what I wanted to discuss with everybody tonight. What is your why? Finding your vision, mission, and principles. Let's go ahead. I can X that out. Boom. Get me back up here. As always, if you need any help with that, you can schedule, or any help with anything, right? As I said, I'm JP. I help people in our community, Black millennials, figure out how to get over the overwhelm, the stress, and all the headache of starting their business with processes and systems. If you need any help, feel free to schedule a free strategy session with me. You can check the link below here on Facebook in the video. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me here on Facebook as well. Take care.